Hey everyone, it's Lindsay. I'm the personal professional development consultant, and it is still October 2020. This is a follow-up from the last video. In this one, I'll describe the grip types a little bit more and give some specific examples of how to get yourself out of the grip, and then give you a few more ideas about the list that you made from the last video. So I'm going to start with the grip types and give some examples of the grip and getting out of it. I do want to say that we all feel all of these at different times. However, whichever one is our personal main grip means that it is a bigger signal that we're out of preference, or it can be a bigger hook for us. So while we may all feel emotionally overwhelmed at times or caught up in details, if it's your grip, it can seem almost impossible to get out of. So as I describe each one, you may feel more or less connected to it. And that's the whole point, noticing your grip and finding ways out of it faster. All of us experience our grip when we're tired, worn out, or have spent a lot of time doing things that are exhausting for us. So basically all of 2020. So I'm going to start with emotional overwhelm. Examples of this are when little things kick off a feeling that are almost like a typhoon or a wall of water of emotion, and it can hit and swirl. So it's sometimes little things that seem so big, and this happens to people whose strength usually is logic and seeing the logical outcome, building arguments on all the logical pieces. So that emotional overwhelm is so out of character. And the way out of emotional overwhelm when it's your grip is to re-engage that thinker piece. What is something you know about? Is there something you can learn? Is there something that you find interesting? It doesn't even have to be connected with the emotional overwhelm issue at hand. You could be overwhelmed by family, and then you think of something that is an interesting documentary you saw, or listen to a podcast for a minute or two. The brief logic interlude gives your brain time to catch a breath. Then it can re-engage with the emotions with that logic strength. So that way, you can bring your strength to paying attention to what has been the trigger. So it's not to say that you can logically strong arm your way past the emotion. It's definitely not that. You still have to deal with them. But this way you can do it from your strength rather than from the grip. So next up is people who, for the grip, is becoming snarky and mean. This type is often usually really kind and aware of impact on people. So when they're in the grip, they will say digs that are super mean, and it's really out of character. The way out of the grip is to remind yourself why that person matters to you, and that you matter to the other person, that their feelings matter, and that your feelings matter too. Again, this break gives you the ability to then look at the steps you can take in order to feel cared for. You can re-engage with the other person or the task at hand. It may even be focusing on caring for yourself. How do I take a moment to kind of step back, care for myself, and then move into whatever the task is that's at hand? The next one is catastrophizing, and we may all do this at times, like all of them. For the person whose grip this is, likely to have switched from the concrete details to spiraling into why everything will be terrible forevermore. So it's different from the sense that, when you haven't heard from someone and they're 30 minutes or more late. In my family, we used to say, oh my God, they're dead in a ditch. So that's worrying about someone because there's a logical chance that something has gone wrong. It's normal to worry, but that's not the same thing as catastrophizing when you're in the grip. Catastrophizing in the grip can be applied to anything and usually is divorced from the logic of the details. So if you're in the grip, it might be that because the person is late, dinner will be ruined and the whole evening should be called off because it's a failure. So it builds that much more quickly. The way to get out of this grip is to ask yourself, what do I know to be true? What do my 5 senses tell me? If you're worried about the uncertainty following the election, think of Thanksgiving. We'll likely know the results by then. So what does Thanksgiving smell like, taste like, sound like? This can be very grounding when it comes to catastrophizing. You imagine all of the senses and what it'll feel like to have the certainty, and that can kind of re-ground from the catastrophizing. Over focusing on unimportant details is last but not least. Folks who experience this as their grip may start cleaning everything, or decide to rehang all the pictures in their house, or clean out the refrigerator, but only by making a meal that includes everything in there. It's like an arbitrary detail guideline. We may all micromanage others when we don't trust their competence, but this is more specific to fixating on random details and not being able to refocus until that, that random task is done. In this case, the way to reground is to reflect on the bigger picture. What do I want today to look like? What do I want to have accomplished by the end of the week? What is the impact I want to make, or the story I want to be able to tell about me from this week? The story may very well include having the cleanest bathroom of all time, or having your pasta arranged alphabetically in your cupboard. If so, you do you. And asking those questions can help you reframe where you want to spend your energy and why it matters. Then you can go back to cleaning the bathroom, but with the grounding that you will feel more you when it's done, bringing that kind of mindfulness piece to it. That's really the whole point, bringing mindfulness to your own actions and reactions. In all of these scenarios, you can ask yourself, what else am I really worried about? What else might be behind this? Those questions might give you some answers about what else is going on in your head and heart, so that you can face those and start to untangle that a little bit more to stay out of the grip as often. Based on all I've said, take another look at your list that you made after the first video. What else do you want to add to it? What else might you be able to ask people help on or support for? Other people are really happy to support you in the same way you're happy to support them. So use that as a resource for yourself. And about that list, I mentioned in the last video that you can look at it and do some of the things over the next week in the lead up to the election. If it's, I need alone time, I know I'll need alone time, make sure you take some alone time this week. That way you're refilling as you go and not waiting for the catastrophe or the stressor. If it's time with friends, build in some extra calls or video calls this week. Even texting people might make you feel a little more grounded. Use your list to be creative in finding ways to care for yourself. That's the whole point. One last thing I wanted to mention, when you look at the list, don't judge what you wrote. Trust your gut. Even if you think an item on the list is silly, it matters. One person I talked to put, I don't want to have to find parking at my house on election night. And that is a great concrete thing to put on that list and to know that you don't want to deal with. So then problem solving can kick in. Instead of worrying that it's silly to have that on the list and then arguing with yourself, you get to shift and say, if I don't want to find parking on election night, where can I walk to? Or where can I watch with people and spend the night? Or what is my biking radius? Or who can I catch a ride with? If we get all balled up in judging ourselves, we won't find the space to problem solve what we need.
Thanks so much for joining me. Do be in touch if you have any questions. Also, let me know how it goes. Take care of yourself. Talk to you soon.